tree quiz this morning where I asked one of the most difficult trees in the area, and somebody very cleverly came up with the answer. I think it was Sam who came up with the answer. It was a low-felt milkberry. So I'm going to try and stump you this afternoon as well. Probably a few more people watching given the time of day in North America. And I'll see if I can stump you on a tree this afternoon. The temperature is about 30 degrees, I think, and we've got very clear skies and very sort of hazy winter skies, and it's been a hot day. Now in winter in this part of the world, that's what the sky generally looks like for about 3 months. We don't see much of a cloud. When the fronts come through, it gets a little windy, but otherwise this is the most pleasant place in South Africa to spend the winter. Was lying up in this thick bush earlier this morning. I was with Vian then. Brian didn't see the leopard, and he's told me he'd like to see it today. And what Brian gets, mainly because he's much larger than I am. Keep looking. They're also looking for Mbula the leopard. There are a bunch of students who are learning about African bushveld. A lot of them from North America. Just going to head down towards the drainage line there. For leopards, that's the sort of ideal place to spend the midday. But like I said this morning, leopards often confound us because they will move around during the midday. Take Brian's head off on this buffalo thorn. Right. There we go. He survived, which means I will survive for a little while. Another one. Okay, we're not going to get through this area. And I don't see any sign of the leopard here. That's a big knobthorn tree on our left-hand side. Excuse me while I turn around. In the Land Rover you need to do a 75-point turn because it turns a little bit like an aircraft carrier. Right. Pop through here. I'm going to go over a little bump now. I don't know if you can point in front there. You can see a small termite mound. It's probably from a different kind of termite that makes the big mounds, and that's called odontotermes, these ones. For those of you who are worried about termites, which would probably be anybody with a wooden house. I'm going to check that in the shade of that enormous jackalberry tree over there. Provides gorgeous shade.
Copy, thanks very much.
Doesn't seem to be up there. Not about to drop on our faces, which is quite nice. Can't see his tracks anywhere. And I think while we carry on, this area is not great for the signal. We're going to cross over to Brent and see if he's picked up the tracks of those dogs, and we'll see you just now.
Welcome on the Sunset Safari, guys. My name's Brent. I've got Andrew on camera with me, and we are in Arathusa Private Game Reserve. It's a balmy 29 degrees Celsius, 82 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is how we do winters. We're very, very lucky. If there are any new viewers out there who are not used to the Safari live procedure, we are live, so whatever we're seeing, you're seeing at the exact same time as us. We're also interactive. You can send us emails and ask us questions about what we're seeing out there, and you can do that via the email address questions@wildearth.tv, or you can use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So I've had some news during the day, and I heard that there was a pack of wild dogs in this area. They were seen quite late in the day, so Andrew and I have made our way into this area. We're busy checking very carefully for tracks in this area, and as a lot of the older viewers know, it's my favorite animal, so I'm always very excited to be looking for wild dogs. But hopefully we do get some luck. And the one problem with wild dogs is they do cover such big distances in a day, but fingers crossed. I had a chat to one of the other guys who saw them this morning, and the alpha female is heavily pregnant, so they're still looking for den sites. So we will be very, very hopeful that she dens between Arathusa and Juma, because that will make unbelievably exciting viewing. Even if she dens just off, they'll definitely come through and hunt quite a lot. So this is a different pack to the one we saw a couple of days ago. That was the remnants of the Investec pack, and I didn't see any females that looked pregnant there, and that could have been because they've been fighting and they've lost a couple of members this year. This is the half-tail pack, which is about 17 animals at the moment, so a really nice big pack. So hopefully we have a bit of luck with wild dogs. I'm going to carry on and see if we can find some tracks. So we're right up in the western boundary of our Travis area, and they were seen just across the boundary. So I'm hoping that as it gets a bit cooler, they might start moving down towards us in this area. Incredibly lucky to be able to operate on reserves like Arethusa and Djuma. The game viewing is just so fantastic. As I was just saying, we're actually on the western boundary of Arethusa. The wild dogs were seen at a dam up to the west of us, almost due west of where we are now. And as I said, as it gets cooler, I'm hoping that they are going to move down and start sort of coursing through this area. And the wild dogs' hunting style is quite often referred to as coursing because they move quite quickly, and they basically looking they hunt by sight, and they'll see an animal and then they'll all latch on and chase that animal, and different dogs will take different angles to try to cut it off. For me personally, it's the most exciting animal to follow hunting. But of course, as always with the bush, we're always looking for everything else that might be out here. So while we're searching for tracks and it's still quite warm, we're going to have a look at this beautiful big tree that's sitting on the termitaria. And you can see it's really, really nice and green in comparison to the other trees around. And I'm going to see who out there can identify which tree this is. I will go get a bit closer so we have a look at the leaves. There we go. And you can see quite a distinct bark. Very, very green leaves. I'll give you a hint. During the summer months, it's got very, very beautiful, bright red flowers. And you can send your answers to which tree this is to questions at wildearth.tv, or just use the hashtag Safari Live if you're on Twitter. Definitely one of my favorite trees out in the bush. I've got lots of favorite trees though, but they are quite often found on termite mounds and around drainage lines. That should also help you guys a little bit. So let's see who can ID this tree. I've seen many a leopard kill in this type of tree as well. So now that it's drying up, and I'm looking at the map of the areas outside our Travis area, there is very little water around. And wild dogs they really love water to drink and to lie and to cool off. So we're going to be checking quite a few of the watering points. And I'm not sure which of them are still holding water. So also good knowledge to have while we're moving around to see which of the small watering points hold water. We've already checked one called Red Dam, and we're going to go check the next pan now and see if it holds water. I think it's quite unlikely. Lisa from Sarasota, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Lisa would like to know, how would you track and find a honey badger home? Well, Lisa, honey badgers can actually move quite big distances, and they generally only den when they have young. And sometimes you can just be lucky and they'll be denning in an area that happens to be near a road or an area that you see them often. So if you keep traveling in an area and you see honey badgers quite regularly in that area, and especially if you see sub-adults, it's a good place to start looking for a den. Other than that, that can be quite difficult. I presume you'd have to do it the hard way and track each individual track. The problem is you're never going to know whether they actually are denning at that moment or they are just out on patrol, and they can cover vast distances at night. Now we are going to enter the Marakila drainage. A couple of evenings ago, those who were on that sunset safari, we saw a Tingana male leopard who had impala carcass in the tree. That impala is the impala carcass that Mark found, that had died from natural causes, and the leopard had scavenged. They're just off on the left here. It's quite a nice little pretty white flower. This particular type is indigenous to the area, but there are non-indigenous flowers of the same family, and it is called a plumbago. Very pretty, and you can see it's growing down here in the low-lying area on the edge of this drainage line, in little clumps. And one of the flowers that we're going to see quite late, and one of the few flowers we're actually going to see around at the moment as it gets drier. It's always good to just switch off, have a look at a flower or a tree and listen. We're listening for the bush to let us know. What is that? Where did you find that, Andrew? I can't see that from where I'm sitting. Just to the left here. Let me go have a quick look at that one. I see the leaves. I'm going to have to take a photo of this one. I'm not 100% sure what it is, but I think James might know. So I'm going to take a photo. It's a succulent as well, so quite interesting. I haven't seen one of these on Jumo Arathusa before, so I'm just going to grab my camera and take a quick picture and see if we can identify it. There we go. That should be enough for reference. Okay, I'm just popping my earpiece back in and we'll be on our way. So there's been a few answers in for the tree, quite a few saying jackalberry. It's not a jackalberry. So keep working at it, guys. I know you can get it. But speaking about a jackalberry, we'll just show you one quickly. You can see the barks are quite different, and the leaf shape is also very different. There we go. Andrew's on the jackalberry now. This is quite a small one. There's some really nice big jackalberries in this drainage system. So if we go in a bit tighter on the bark, you'll see the bark is quite different from the other tree we were looking at earlier. And you can see the leaves are also quite different. guys, another answer coming in. Is it a sausage tree? It's not. Not a sausage tree either. Sorry, just thought I saw some tracks there. From California, welcome on the Sunset Safari. Liesel would like to know, with 17 in this pack of wild dog, what is the largest prey species they would attempt? Liesel, 17, they would definitely have a go at sub-adult wildebeest, adult kudu. I had actually heard from a friend of mine who works in Botswana, a very rare occurrence. There's a pack of about 25, and they actually hunted a sub-adult buffalo out of a herd of about 800. So it is possible for them to go to those bigger animals, but generally they do stick to your small to medium-sized antelope. But 17, easily an adult kudu, waterbuck. They would probably stay away from zebras. Zebras are quite dangerous things. But definitely a wildebeest, sub-adult wildebeest would definitely fall within their realm. But generally, even with 17, they will still specifically go for mostly impala, but they will quite often make 2 to 3 kills a day. And out of all the predator species, wild dogs have by far the highest success rate. In certain areas, their success rate is going up as high as 80%. So 8 out of 10 times that they chase something, they catch it. It looks like the tree's got the better of you today. No, it's not an Edward. I think we might be coming up on another one, so I'll keep a lookout for another one. We can stop and have another look. So for those of you who are on the Sunset Safari with Tingana, the Tingana male leopard a few days ago, this is the tree to the left where he is. I'm just going to stop so we can have a look. I moved where there we go. So that's the tree where he was, and the kill was on that lowest branch, or the carcass. So I heard from here he moved further south, out of our area. But that is another jackalberry that kill was in. I think I'm going to give you guys a little bit longer, and then I might have to give you another clue to what that tree was. Quite hot. There's not even a bird making a noise at the moment. Oh, it's quite a bumpy road. are still in the same area that those wild dogs were seen. We are just checking all the roads for tracks. It's unlikely they're moving just yet, but I don't want to move too far from this area because they should be getting mobile in the next sort of half an hour to 45 minutes. But what I am going to do in the meantime is check the different water points to see if they've maybe stopped there for a drink. And wild dogs quite often like to lie in the water to cool off. Checking all these areas very carefully. And of course, we're always looking for everything else as well. Always got our eyes out for lion tracks, for leopard tracks, for impala even. Not their tracks. I think you'd have a very busy time if you tried to follow every impala track you saw. So I've just heard someone has got it right. And is that one sitting there on the other side of the river? Can't see from here. But someone has got the tree right finally. It was a weeping bourbean. It was a weeping bourbean, a Scotia. And the person who got that right, I'm just waiting for confirmation. Diana, very well done, Diana. A really great tree. During the summer months, I've got these crimson flowers that drip an incredibly sweet nectar, and that's where the weeping comes from. And it attracts lots of different insects and animals. Bushbuck and nyala are very partial to those flowers when they fall down to the ground. Also, let me just make sure I haven't got the rock. There we go. So other uses for that is that the bark is used in the tanning process, but a more common use is that the roots are sometimes used to alleviate hangovers as a hangover enemy. So that is the weeping bourbean. Slowly checking the edge of this drainage line, lots of nice cool shade, and eventually this does get quite close to the Arethusa Dam. Oh, what's that flying up there? Very distinct flight pattern, very labored flight pattern. I think you guys should be. Might be a bit easy to ask you, but I think I'm going to anyway. So after that brief view, you can tell me which bird that was. Which bird was flying through the screen there. And you can send your answers to questions@wildearth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. I think that one's a bit easy, but after the weeping bourbean gave you guys so much trouble, I thought it better be nice of me, throw in an easier question for now. Don't worry, I'm not going to be nice all drive though. So what I am hoping, if we do not pick up any tracks of these wild dogs, is that as we make our way closer towards Arathusa Dam, there might be some ellies that have come down to drink in the afternoon. This is one of my favorite areas in Arathusa along the Marakele drainage here. As it opens up and you've got this sort of open leadwood woodland with short grass, favored by lots of animals, and just really, really pretty to look at as well. Attack of the flies. They're out. You see short grass like this, it means the grass is of really good quality. A decreaser grass species, we chatted a little bit about decreaser and increaser grass species. Decreaser grass species. So decreases actually increase with grazing. I know it sounds quite strange. And those are your high value grass species that have lots of nutrients. So when you see short grass graze like that, you know this is a good area for animals. It's probably still a bit hot to have stuff grazing out on the open areas there, but where you have high densities of prey species, you have high densities of predators. So always worthwhile checking these areas. There's a couple of answers coming through on the birds, but they sound a little bit general to me. I'd like to know which hornbill it is, not just that it's a hornbill. And remember, you can send your answers through to questions@wildearth.tv or just use the hashtag SafariLive. Okay. As it's getting cooler, we've got a nice herd of impala here that are moving onto those short grass plains I was just talking about. So let me just pop around them. Pop around so we can have a look a little bit better. Hello, girls. So I hear someone has got it right. It was an African grey hornbill. An African grey hornbill. They've got a really wonderful call, very high pitched, and you can hear it in the bush very often. But as I said, it's still quite warm. We're not really hearing any birds at the moment. So I'm just waiting to hear who was correct there with an African grey hornbill. They're such beautiful, dainty animals. And so successful. I mean, they've been unchanged for 1.6 million years. They've out-survived lots of more impressive, larger, stranger-looking creatures. They're just such a good design that they haven't had to evolve too much over the last 1.6 million years. Always alert. Just watch the ears. Always checking around. Well, we're going to leave the impala as they head down towards those short grass plains, enjoying the last bit of good grazing before the dry season sets in properly. One of the things that makes them so incredibly successful is that they are one of the few antelope species that is both a grazer and a browser. And what that means is, if the grass is available, they will eat the grass, but when the grass stops becoming available, they'll switch and start feeding off trees. While we continue to check these areas very carefully for the wild dogs, we're going to cross across to James to see what he's been up to, and we'll be back with you a little bit later.
Welcome back everyone to Wendy. I'm on Wendy today. Take my glasses off. Quite a bright sun. Just got some impala up in front, which I believe you've been looking at, and I also believe that Brent gave you a tree quiz. Now I'm going to bet slightly that the Wendy Almost Impossible tree quiz will be slightly more impossible than Brent's. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong. While we're driving along, there is the subject of the quiz this afternoon. Please send me your answers to #SafariLive or questions@wildearth.tv. And if you guys don't know, I think I might ask Brent and see if he knows. I'd like the Latin name if possible, but the Latin name is also quite closely related to the English name. And the only clue I'm going to give you is that it's quite spiny. No thorns, but it is quite spiny. So if you think of an animal like that, you might come up with a tree. Good luck. In terms of our plan, we didn't pick up on any more mvula tracks, so we are going to continue going down south to one of the watering holes. It's been quite a hot day. I'd quite like to see some elephants, hopefully in one of the watering holes. Otherwise we'll see what we can see. I'm not sure what Brent's situation with the dog tracks is, but they do move a great distance, so we might be lucky because they are in the area. We had a question there from someone, I'm not sure, whoever you are, good question, and welcome to the afternoon drive. The question was, are Nyala the same as kudu? The answer is no, they're not. They are the same genus though. The genus is called Tragelaphus. I believe, Sharon, that's your question. Great question. And there are a few animals that belong to the genus Tragelaphus. The kudus are one. Then we have bushbuck and Nyala, sort of the in-between size ones. There's also something called a sitatunga. Say that very fast. Makes a nice rhythm. Sitatunga, sitatunga, sitatunga. Bit like red lorry, yellow lorry. but they're found in the Okavango Delta. And then there's also one called a bongo, a tragelaphid, and he lives in the Central African rainforests. There's one other spiral horned antelope, but that's what the tragalaphids are called in English, and that's the eland. And we don't get many of those here. They've probably seen one in the last 20 years or so. Onto this clearing, and you can see that, or you can maybe feel through your screens as Brian shoots it, there's a real soporific feel to this time of the day. Heat is still on. There's the odd dove flying around. The insects in summer would be flitting about the place, not so much in the winter time. Nice, beautiful hornbill sighting there. Now, we had a little quiz yesterday afternoon, and the quiz was that we linked that hornbill to the Lion King and the Zulu word izazu, and I wanted to know if anybody knew what that meant. We've had a couple of answers to the almost impossible tree quiz. One of them is somebody thought it was an acacia tree or a wachabiki, wait a while. It isn't that. Then the second answer was closer to the truth. But I'm not going to give you that answer yet. I'd like the Latin first, and then I'll give it to you. It does have to do with a mammal that has spikes on it. That, of course, is the red-billed hornbill, as evidenced by its red bill. And they look almost similar to the yellow-billed until you see them together, and you see that the shape of the bill is different, and what it means is that they don't compete for food. So a yellow-billed hornbill has a much thicker bill and therefore will take larger food. Hornbills are red, or yellow-billed hornbills are often seen taking things like chameleons and smaller reptiles, while the red-billed will take smaller invertebrates. They'll both be fairly omnivorous though, so they'll eat fruit as well. Let's try to see what he's eating there. Brian, any idea? All right, we're going to cross across to Brent. He's managed to find some kudu, which are having a drink in the heat of the day, and so you can have your tragelaphid fill, if you like. Off to Brent.
Welcome back, guys. Unfortunately, no elephants at the dam, but we've got this stunning kudu sighting, and the kudu walking across the face of Arathusa Lodge. I mean, it looks like two females, two youngsters, such beautiful, soft afternoon light. Thought they might drink for a second, but they're not, they're just passing through. It's quite nice to see them right out in the open like this, as opposed to in the bush like we see them quite often. They're moving between one area of thick bush and the other. Kudus are browsers, so there's very little food for them out in these open areas. quite a quintessentially African view. Sort of nice open place, acacia in the background, and a nice large herbivore passing by. So to move the vehicle a little bit, there's also some hippos, and as it gets colder, quite a few of the hippos during the day will take advantage of the warm sunshine and lie a little bit further out of the water, and especially later in the year when it is much colder, we'll start seeing quite a lot more of that. One's getting up on cue for us. So we can hear a bit of noise behind the hippos, and what that is it's the Arethusa maintenance staff hard at work to maximize your safari experience when you are on an African safari. The lodges try their best to never do any loud maintenance work while you're in the lodge. So while you're away from the lodge on game drive is when they will make all the noises and all those things is what keeps the lodge running so well and so smoothly. Oh, look at the little one, tiny little one following. Yep. Go to the left there quickly, Andrew, the one that's doing something, the one that's still half out the water. Like, he's blowing bubbles, he's stopped now. There we go. Trying to get comfortable. Just trying to see what he's up to there. He's got a necklace of aquatic weed there. Well, heading off into the deep water. And if we go actually no, Andrew, if you just swing, as I was saying, normally kudu spend a lot of their time, because they're browsers, feeding in the thick bush. Now, they're such big antelope, but look how well that camouflage works. Now, as you can see, as they've disappeared into the bush, there we go, in center shot, you can just see the one female disappearing. So nice to see them out in the open, but they do prefer the thicker bush, normally. Oh, very nice birds coming through here. Ones I don't think I've seen since I've been at Tuma. Have you got the one there? There we go, there's two of them, it's a pair of them. I'm actually going to not tell you what they are just yet. I'm going to see if there are some serious birders out on safari with us today. See if you can identify what these two birds are. I know, unfortunately, they're flying, but I'm hoping they will stop and give us a chance for a better look. I'm not quite sure whether this is a bit of a mating display going on or it's two males chasing each other. Oh, there we go. Oh, perfect. Stopped right opposite that. And then coming. There we go. There we go. Nice view of them now. They're quite incredible little pescivores. So they mostly eat fish. They have been recorded as one of the few bird species to use tools. So in the Okavango Delta, this species has been recorded catching an insect, a katydid or a grasshopper, putting it in the water and dropping it and let it drift past where its perches, and then waiting for a fish to come grab the insect, then grabbing the fish. And they've been known to sit half an hour putting a grasshopper in one spot and letting it drift sort of 15, 20 centimeters, picking it up, letting it drift again. So using bait. So true fishermen.
That's intelligence. Wow.
I'm not quite sure whether this is a bit of a mating display going on or it's two males chasing each other. Oh, there we go. Oh, perfect. Stopped right opposite that. And then coming. There we go. There we go. Nice view of them now. They're quite incredible little pescivores. And so they mostly eat fish. They have been recorded as one of the few bird species to use tools. So in the Okavango Delta, this species has been recorded catching an insect, a katydid or a grasshopper, putting it in the water and dropping it and let it drift past where its perches, and then waiting for a fish to come grab the insect, then grabbing the fish. And they've been known to sit half an hour putting a grasshopper in one spot and letting it drift sort of 15, 20 centimeters, picking it up, letting it drift again. So using bait. So true fishermen.
That's intelligence. Wow.
Hi, Jimmy, and welcome on the Sunset Safari. Jimmy would like to know, do the hippos eat this weed in the water? They might play with it in their mouth, but they don't really eat it too much. They do prefer grass, and that is why they leave the water in the evening to head out to graze. And I mean, in certain areas, hippos have been known to do 30 kilometers each way, so 60 kilometers in a night to get to decent grazing. Where'd those herons go? Oh, they're still there. I can still see one.
Did you just give a hint?
I did. Sneaky hint. Let's just move a little bit further up the dam. There are some other birds and that around, so see if we can have a look at them. We've got a grey heron. Oh, he's just taken off. Gonna land again shortly. The grey heron. And then we have a blacksmith lapwing in the foreground. Oh, that's. And then that little bird flapping around and cleaning at the back is a water thickney. And to the right, slightly, we've got an Egyptian goose and a hammerkop. And a little wader that's just flown in. It's like a common sandpiper. That's a fantastic little stop off at the dam. We were looking for big things and we found some wonderful small things while we were here. So I'm going to start meandering back to the west now that we've checked the different water points and see if we can, touch wood, get some wild dog luck this afternoon on this sunset safari. So just an update for those who might have joined a little bit late, or might be a new viewer. We are on the hunt for the African wild dog. I got a report from a friend of mine who works at one of the other lodges that they were seen this morning towards our western boundary in Arathusa. I'm hoping they come back this way later in the day. So we've been checking all the water points, we've been checking the roads for tracks. It's a little bit cooler now, so it's likely that they might have started moving. So we're going to head closer to that area where I was checking earlier and have another gander at finding the wild dog. Well done, guys. You guys got that bird quite easily. I'm just waiting to find out who exactly it was. It was a green-backed heron, which is also known as a striated heron. So both those answers are correct. Hi, guys. I'm just going to have a quick chat with Ryan here. So excuse me for a second. Hello, buddy. Okay. How you going? Anything new this afternoon?
I'm still looking for the
I'm doing the same. I've driven the whole your boundary down past the windmills, going back up.
Okay, I've just actually come from second windmill side, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just check this drainage line. They must have laid down somewhere, dude.
Yeah. So I've checked, and last tracks, I think, who was it from Sibambili said they were around Sibambili Dam.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
At the end of drive. So that's why I've been up there.
Well, they were here after breakfast.
So I think that's probably later.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe I'll change my plan, and I'm going to go check down towards the airstrip and maybe central. That
Okay,
side.
cool. I'm just going to bounce around here in the drainage line. I'll let you know if I come across it.
Cool. I'm on the Eastern Channel. Okay. Cool. Thanks very much. Cheers, brother. Enjoy, guys. Sorry, guys, just having our afternoon meeting. Well done, Pamela. Pamela was the first to come through with the answer to that question. Greenbacked or striated heron. So we just heard that the information we've been following was a little bit old. So we're going to change our plans. I'm going to zoot around and we're going to actually go check to the east. So they were in the west this morning, and I know that means they were seen after breakfast in front of Arathusa. That means we're going to change our plan. I'm going to loop back, go across the dam wall, and then check down towards the eastern side of the property and see what we can find there. But that is the one thing that makes tracking wild dogs so incredibly difficult. It's because they move so much. And they can cover vast distances, especially now while they're preparing to den. So while we get ourselves into the right area this time, we're going to cross across to James and see what he's been up to and what he's got, and we'll catch up with you a little later.
Welcome back to Wendy. Wendy has not proved to be particularly lucky this afternoon, but I do need to say that Ginny, wherever you are, you're a bit of a genius. This tree of ours is in fact she said it was a porcupine tree. It's called a porcupine bush, and the botanical name is Pyrostria hystrix. And it is quite spiny. So not an acacia like some of you thought it might be. The acacias have thorns on them, and this doesn't. It's just got very sort of spiky branches, which are also known as spines. Now just Just in front of us there, you can see an elephant has pushed over a silver cluster leaf tree and blocked the road. It's going to try and maneuver around it. And if you can see there, if you zoom in on where it was broken, there's a butterfly. Lovely butterfly. Can you see it there, Brian? There he is. Stunning. That's called a guinea fowl butterfly because it does, if you get close enough, it's got spots on the wings, rather like a guinea fowl. Yeah, you can see them there, just glinting in the sunlight. And what you'll probably find is that the butterfly is probably feeding on the cambium layer or the fluids that the tree would be sending down to the roots and back up again. So a tree has two layers of vascular tissue, one called the xylem, which takes the water from the roots up to the leaves, and one called the phloem, which will take the nutrients and carbohydrates that are created through photosynthesis down to the roots. And the butterfly there is probably tapped into into the vascular system and sucking out some well-needed nutrition. Not easy for the insects at this time of the year because there are no flowers and there are no fruits really. So they must make do with things like, make use of an opportunity like that guinea fowl butterfly is doing now. Right, let us maneuver around this obstacle placed here by the elephants. Any luck, we'll see an elephant. We'll dispense with our porcupine bush. I'm obviously going to have to find an even more utterly impossible tree. Some lion tracks a little earlier that we found. It seems they've crossed out of the property, but they are in the area. I'm not sure which pride it is. A bit further south of where we saw the lions the other day. Here. Just stopped here to try and show you some elephant dung, but we have a bit of a question coming through, so I'm going to wait for that first. Michelle from Alabama, welcome on Afternoon Drive. You'd like to know why there are no meerkats in this area. The answer is that meerkats are more a desert species, so they thrive in areas where it's drier and where they can burrow more easily under the ground. Here they're replaced in their range by more of our mongoose species. I mean, a meerkat is part of the same family, but they're more adapted to desert environments. And we're in what we call a semi-arid environment, so we get about 450 millimeters of rain every year, which is not a lot, but it's a lot more than the desert environments or semi-desert environments that the meerkats live in. So the Kalahari, where they live, or where they most popularly are seen, will get probably between 150 and 250 millimeters of rain a year, which is not very much. In inches, let me think quite quickly in inches. It's less than 10 inches a year. Okay, I'm just going to pick up some stuff off the ground there, and we're just going to have a quick look at that elephant dung, because it's one of my favorite things out here. Now, I know that there are lots of people who will feel that this is probably fairly unhygienic, but it isn't. This is very dry elephant dung. And as I've said to you before, one of the things that, while the technology that allows us to speak to you in far-flung places all over the world allows you to see what we're doing and hear what we're doing, you can't feel or smell what we're doing. And the smell of dry elephant dung like this is one of the most comforting things you can smell. It just smells like a collection of the earth's greatest scents. Many people in this area will burn it in their homes because it gives off a pleasant smell, and it also, the smoke chases away flies and insects. We've had a bit of a tough time with the flies, so I might give some of this to Brian and light it. I probably won't though, because he won't be very happy with that. If you look carefully now, I'm going to put some on the dashboard here, where we can get a decent look. Oops, turned on the air conditioning by mistake. That's no good. You can see the variety of things that an elephant eats. Undigested stick. There's a whole lot of leaf material. And what else have we got here? We've got a lot of grass. But you can see how a lot of it is not in fact very well digested at all. And the elephant has a very inefficient digestive system. And why? It's not that inefficient for the elephant, because what it means is that as soon as the food quality drops, the elephant can just process more and more food. In something like a cow or an antelope, which is a ruminant, they're unable, they reach a capacity where they have to stop eating, lie down in the shade and chew the cud. And once the food drops below a certain quality, that becomes a detrimental strategy. And so that's why most of the really big animals, like the elephant or rhino or hippo, have what we call hindgut fermentation, and they don't digest their food very well at all. But what it does mean is that when the food gets bad, they can just eat more and more and more. All right. Elephants at the moment will be starting to move on to the bark and sticks, because the grass is finished. If there is grass, they will graze because it's easier on their teeth. And as I'm sure most of you know, elephants die normally when their last set of molars wears down. So the softer the food they can eat, the longer those teeth will last. Plug myself in so I can hear you talking to me. Kathleen, welcome. You'd like to know if that burns like buffalo dung does. Hang on a second, we've got a bird up here. Oh, look at that. You don't get a sight like that with that bird very often. It's a spectacular bird. Does anybody know what it is? I gave a long explanation the other day about why it's got such a short tail. beautiful red face. And you can see from behind here, if you were looking at a true eagle, there'd be a tail extending beyond the branch on which he's sitting. But you can see there's no tail there. That bird is normally a scavenger, but will also eat snakes and other reptiles, and possibly the odd rodent. But most of the time they're quite a good indicator, if there are a few of them around, of a kill. In this case, I think he's just resting. So that is the Battalier. Some contestation as to where he got the name from, and there's still no consensus. The best I've heard is that it comes from an old French word, not sort of currently used anymore, for acrobat or tumbler, and that's because of the rocking motion of the Battalier's flight. And it rocks like that because it has such a short tail, and so it's inherently very unstable. And that's why it takes 7 years. It's born with a long tail, and it takes 7 years for that tail to shorten to nothing. Kathleen, to get back to your question about the dung, I'd never seen buffalo dung burned. It's much finer though, so I imagine it would burn possibly more like peat, whereas this elephant dung tends to just smoke. And that glorious bird will live up to 40 years long. So far longer than any of its mammal competition. You can tell the difference between a male and a female in flight. Let's just have a look. We might be able to tell from behind too. I'm going to find the bird in the book. Let's see if we can't tell. Quite a lot of brown on the back, so if we can tell, we can see that's what it's going to be. Okay, if you look at the primary feathers, which are the feathers on the end of the wings there, you can see that they are quite pale. And once we've looked at the bird, I'll let you have a look at the book and you'll see what I mean. And that paleness is an indicator that this is a female. She'll be slightly larger than a male, probably. The raptors often are. Beautiful rosy face. So if we come back to the book here, you can see the female here. And those are the primary feathers I'm talking about. And you can see that they're pale on that bird, exactly as they are in this drawing. When they're in flight, it's much easier. You can see over here, the female is almost entirely white underneath, and the male has got a black and white stripe. There's the juvenile, and I don't know if you can see how much longer the juvenile's tail is. 7 years it takes to get that short, because it takes 7 years to fly without a tail. Right, I think we'll leave this Battalier to herself, the acrobat or tumbler of the sky, and see what else we can find. sighting of that bird. That's quite unusual. Next port of call is going to be another dam along the way, a watering hole, where we'll see if we can't pick up those lion tracks that we're heading east. Still quite warm for them, for lions to be up and about, but we'll see what we can see. See if you can listen to this. Not the car coming, the birds calling there. What that bird is an oxpecker. I can't actually see them. It's called a red-billed oxpecker, and it's an extremely important sound to know when you're walking in the bush, because those are the birds that sit on herbivores, rhino. The only ones they don't sit on are elephants. In fact, elephants will tolerate them. And they will alarm call like that. They sense a human being's presence or any predator's presence. So if you hear that, you often know that there's some sort of herbivore around, and if you're on foot, you'd rather not blunder into a buffalo or a rhino without knowing it's there. So off to the east lies the expanse of the Kruger National Park, and through, I'm not sure how much you know about this, but through a concept called the Peace Parks Foundation, the Kruger National Park extends now into Mozambique. So there's no actual physical border between Mozambique and South Africa, into the Greater Limpopo Transfrontier Park. And it's Africa's, I think it's in the top 10 of Africa's largest national parks or contiguous game regions. It's bigger than Israel, it's bigger than Wales. It's quite impressive, really. Look up here, Brian. Does anybody know what that is? It's quite an interesting thing. I'm sure you can guess. It is in fact a spider's web, a community nest spider's web, which I'm sure some of you have seen before. I know Mark enjoyed them very much. And inside there you have a community of little spiders which live in sort of their own apartments, if you like. And as soon as something flies into one of the knockdown threads, which are those ones, you can see the threads extending out from either side of the web, and as soon as one of those things sort of extends out, or as soon as an insect flies into one and is knocked in and caught, they all rush out, beat it up, wrap it up in silk, suck it dry, and then disappear back inside. Now, the really interesting thing about community spiders is that when times are tough, the most important members of the community nest spider are, of course, the females, because they're the one who lay the eggs. So when times are tough, the males will find themselves on the menu. So it's in the males' interests to make sure that there is enough prey for the females to eat. Otherwise, they find themselves being devoured by their wives and friends. It's a bit of a morbid thought, and thankfully doesn't happen too often in humanity. Right, on we go. There's a water hole just up ahead we're going to go and have a look at. I'm not sure what he's looking at, but we're about to lose signal, so we're going to cross back to Brent.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you've had a great time with James. We've been scouring this area for any sign of the wild dogs. Unfortunately, we haven't had any luck yet. But we're going to just do one or two last sort of scans through the area, and I think we're going to start moving. Let me just turn this down quickly. I think we're going to start moving. We're going to start moving back down towards Djuma and possibly go look for some leopards. There's quite a lot of tracks on Djuma at the moment, but obviously it's always worth having a check if the wild dogs are in the area, if we can find them. But it's this beautiful sort of winter's light that's coming through now. Temperature is ideal at the moment. It's not too hot, not too cold. And where else would you rather be but than on game drive? And we're incredibly lucky and privileged to be able to share our passion for wildlife and for the bush with you guys all over the world. And we really appreciate you guys sending in questions and watching and coming on the live safaris with us. Welcome on the Sunset Safari. We're on Arathusa Private Game Reserve at the moment. Sorry, 1 second, Gail. Saw a track that looked distinctly dog-like. Oh. Small hyena. But Gail would like to know, following up on that African grey hornbill. Oh, before I forget, well done to Anna. Anna was the one who got the African grey hornbill question right. I know there were a few more of you, but Anna was the first off the blocks. But Gail, back to your question, why was the flight of that hornbill so laboured? They're not designed to sort of fly long distances. They do from time to time, but you'll notice they're sort of, unlike a bird like a bateleur, or any of your sort of eagles, or even some of your duck species and geese species that sort of have mastered that sort of very limited movement flight. Hornbills normally hop from tree to tree to tree while they're feeding. So they're designed for little short flights, so when they do have to fly a little bit longer distance, they look a little bit out of place. So it's sort of flap, 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 and then ooh, and then they've got to start flapping again quite soon. So they haven't got the design to sort of that long gliding and very limited use of energy flight, because they're designed to hop from sort of little flight to little flight. Gail, I hope that helps answer that question. And it is quite amusing watching them flap away through the sky when they have to cover a longer distance. I always feel sorry for the cameraman when I have to drive on this road. It's possibly one of the bumpier roads around. And they're perched up top there. Got to hang on and still keep the camera in focus. To know, where are all the impala babies? Well, Cici, they've got so much babies as sub-adults now. I'll try to find some. Well, speaking of impala, but this is a male doing his rutting run. Off he goes. Very impressive, except he didn't have any females. But Cici, those babies are now, those sub-adults, they're still a little bit smaller than the adults, and the males will even have a little horn on them. And South Africa, one of the sort of colloquialisms that is used quite often with those impalas that are sort of reaching a maturity a little bit now, they're sort of 6 months old, is a penkop, which basically translated means a pen head, because those little horns look like pens coming out of their skulls. But I will definitely keep my eyes open, Cici, for some of the younger impala. We're going to head slightly towards the airstrip now, so there's a good chance we might see some. Such a beautiful evening.
They're very shy, heading south in the block. I'm actually in the block. You can see my entire truck going over.
I'm hoping that we have some action with some dogs, but even if we don't, it's just such a privilege to be out here.
Sorry, you go left parking again. Left parking, left in San Unioni.
Another male impala.
Sorry, what's that name?
I am looking for a herd where we might find one of those young adults. Now I suppose it's a bit rude to call them babies, but young adults.
Near Tree House Dam. I'm not really sure right now. What animal do you have?
But let's see if we can find one of those young adults. Oh, they're going to run, but it's quite a nice sighting, even though it is a long distance sighting. Sometimes these long distance sightings are really, really pretty. gives you sort of a feeling of how vast it is out here sometimes. So we got some female kudu.
Can you again what animal that is you have there?
On the edge of the airstrip. Well, actually one's a young male, the one on the left. So if you hear that clicking, sorry, that's just my camera. It's such a beautiful sight. Hi, Jacqueline from Georgia. Welcome on the Sunset Safari. Jacqueline would like to know what the difference is between browsing and grazing. Well, Jacqueline, it's quite simple. Your browsers, like the animals we're looking at there next to the windsock, like kudu, they feed off leaves and trees, or specifically leaves from trees, and a grazer feeds off only grass species. And then you have the oddball, like an impala, who is both. They will feed off both grass and leaves. So leave those kudu. I've got one more sneaky road to take. It's all on gust, this one. Just got a feeling. So we're going to go check there. Hopefully my feelings are working well today. Now that's quite interesting actually, before we go anywhere else. Because this is quite a strange sighting to see where we are. I'm going to go grab it quickly and I'll bring it closer to the vehicle. Just pop my ears back in quickly. So this type of plant looks very out of place out here on the airstrip, far away from water. It's actually still damp in the middle, and you can see this is very much an aquatic plant species. We've actually got one, that's a different one there, two, and then a dark one there, three, and maybe even one more second. Five different aquatic species, and you can see those aquatic roots that dangle down to get down to the mud and to get the nutrients from the water. And then we've got those roots are from this purple panweed, which is this one. So we've got 6 different aquatic species, and we're probably about a mile to 2 miles from the closest permanent water. Now I wonder how it got here. So I think I'll let you guys ponder on that. How do you think 6 different aquatic species of plant ended up to 2 miles away from the water on an airstrip? So there's quite a conundrum for you. Now, who's going to be able to figure that out? But while you think about that, I'm going to jump back in the car and keep going to that road. I've got a hunch that we might get some luck on. Hi, Paddy from Michigan. Welcome on Sunset Safari. Paddy's asking, says, I've been all over Africa. If I had to choose one place to live, where would it be? Paddy, that's a bit of an unfair question because each of those places I've lived has such different attributes that appeal to me. Sorry, Paddy, I'll get back to your question. I just need to have a chat here. Hi, everyone. How are you guys doing? Good. How's your drive?
I'm playing.
Any updates from the side?
No, the dogs were on Somali this morning.
They came here afterwards.
Did they come back?
Yeah, they saw them at Arathusa in front of the lodge after breakfast.
Okay.
So that's we've been. But we haven't seen any trucks or anything there.
Yeah, but anything, not other updates, just slow on Shirley's and evening and stuff.
Cool. Just to information on Bullers on the tiller.
Okay.
Around the camp. But other than that, there was quite a lot of leopard activity around Cheetah, Cutline and Kauri Main, crossing in and out.
Yeah.
They found Kurula up in Buffalo, so I don't know which. It was Mafazi as well. So. Well, have a good evening, guys.
Enjoy. Good work.
Sorry, Paddy, I'm back with you now. So, Paddy was asking of all the different places in Africa that I've been. Obviously, helps if I put it in gear. Where would I choose to live? As I said, Paddy, that's a very difficult question to answer because so many of those places all have such incredible attributes that it'd be quite difficult for me to choose one. And I think it would depend a lot on the situation and scenario. So let's just say, if money wasn't an option, nice thought that would be. But I think I would have multiple homes in multiple different spots in the bush. Definitely northern Botswana, specifically up towards the Linyanti and Kwondo systems, South Luangwa in Zambia, Liwa Plains in northern Zambia, northwestern Zambia, and definitely somewhere in southern Tanzania, either Ruhaha or the Selous. Just so many choices, and definitely last but not least, I would definitely have somewhere in this area. I do really love the Lowveld in South Africa. It's such a wonderful, diverse systems. I mean, if you go from the north on the Limpopo River on the northern boundary, in the Pafuri area, you've got the Luvuvu River and the Fever Tree forests and these sort of wonderful rhyolite, the mountains coming out, the edge of the Soutpansberg. No, there's just so much variety. It would be too difficult for me to choose one specific place. But thanks very much for that, Paddy. That was a nice question. It is definitely one of the possibilities of how all the aquatic vegetation ended up all the way on the airstrip. Most likely a hippo. It could have been a hippo. I think this time it was actually an elephant. So the fact that it was still damp on the inside, and it's been a very warm day today. If it had been a hippo from last night, I think that moisture would have dried out of that. So I think most likely an elephant, and elephants will often play with that vegetation. They don't really eat it and pop it. Whoa, this is a big bump. They pop it on their head and it gets on their back while they're playing with it, and I think and also the size of it there, I think it was probably an elephant that has moved that sometime during the day from a water source, more than likely from Arathusa Dam and to the airstrip. But yes, normally it would be a hippo. It's just the fact that it was still damp on the inside and that, and on a day like today with that heat, it probably would have dried out if it was from last night. Now that is quite an impressive size. This must be a really talented mother water. I mean, how many babies there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 2 females. So she's done very well. Both of them have done very well to get 6 piglets to this age. They're by no means out of trouble yet. They're still ideal leopard snippets at that size. Let's sneak forward so we can see them again. I think this is the same very successful females we've seen on the Arethusa airstrip before that have managed to raise these little guys. They are quite cute when they're little. So they're actually heading out towards that open area we just came from. Oh, there's more. They just keep coming.
Oh, wow.
That's actually more than 6. That's 8. So I think they're going to come out into that open area we just passed. So I'm just going to turn the car around and go have a look at them. Now at this time of the day, they are most definitely heading for their the den, so water burrow. They didn't make the burrow. They would have taken over from an outfart normally. They will do some excavations with their nose to make that burrow bigger, but they are definitely not, they don't have the right skills to actually dig the burrow. Heading towards wherever their sleeping spot is. But isn't that nice? We're going to be able to see them all out on this nice open area. Nice relaxed water, please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. So they actually have lost 1. So the last time I think I saw these 2 females, there were 8 piglets. There are 7, but even now, still normally you will see by this time there's normally only 1 piglet around, or 2 if they're lucky. But to have this many piglets, these females have done very, very well. So looks like they're gonna stopping for one last little snack before bedtime. Such funny looking creatures. One of the feeding adaptations you can see specifically what the youngsters are doing at the moment, they do drop to their knees so they can get much closer to the ground, and that enables them, one of their favorite things, the little tubers and bulbs on the roots of grass, so they actually dig that out. Little piggies. And it's so funny, even the little ones have that very distinct white beard. It's amazing, you can actually hear them feeding. I'm not sure if the mics are picking it up, but I'm going to keep quiet for a couple of seconds, just see if you guys can hear that them feeding. Hi, James from Kansas City. James is just saying, while we're driving around, would it be possible for us to keep a lookout for any impala lilies? They should be blooming at this time. We will do, James, but unfortunately the area we operate in is not really ideal for impala lilies. They prefer more rocky soil and quartz with lots of quartz in it. And we are on granite soils here, which are quartz, but it's very fine granite. It's not. We don't have any rocky outcrops and things like that. It is possible, but I haven't seen any impala lilies since I've been here. I could also be wrong, and there could very easily be a secret grove of impala lilies somewhere that we haven't discovered yet. So the fact that they've stopped to feed means that their burrow will be quite close to here. This is sort of starting to get to sort of predator time when the predators are most likely to be moving. So they will be quite close to their burrow now. So, a collective noun we haven't done before, and that's, what is the collective noun for warthog? What is the collective noun for warthog? You can send your answers to questions at WildEarth.tv or just use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. Wonderful soft light. Such a beautiful evening. Nice to see how well these two little family groups of warthog have done. I think we're going to leave them to their last snack before bedtime and continue on to see what else we might be able to find. So the warthog have changed my plans slightly. Take a different road. Maybe the warthog. Oh, that's quite nice though. One last little look with that backlighting, and then we're gonna head off again. It's just such a pretty setting. The sun setting, nice little group of warthogs. Warthogs got wonderful backlight through the grass. The grass is lit so nicely. So Gerda, welcome on Sunset Safari. Gerda, I just asked the question. I'm going to see if you guys can find the collective noun for warthog. There is one, as far as I know. I'm pretty sure about that. So I'm leaving it up to you guys, Gerda, to find the collective noun for warthogs. And if you find it, send your answers through to questions at WildEarth.tv or use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. guys, we're going to cross back to James, see what he's been up to, see what he's got, and hopefully he's got something really nice for you. And we'll be back with you a little bit later, so have fun with James.
Welcome back to Wendy, everyone. We've just come up to this waterhole where you can now see a hippo, a heron, and a buffalo. And if you look carefully, you can see a Cape turtle dove in the background as well. A quadrifecta, if there's such a word. In fact, I'm pretty sure there isn't. The heat has just come off the edge of the day, and so things are starting to cool a bit. These buffalo, there are a few buffalo around here, and they will go off and graze later in the night and find in the coolth of the evening. If we look carefully at the one just to the left of where we are now, Brian, there he is. Now if we look and zoom in on his mouth, you can see he's chewing. Obviously he's not grazing, he's chewing the cud. And chewing the cud is often a term people use without really knowing what it means. In this case, chewing the cud, well, in fact in every case, it means that the cud is the regurgitated food matter that's in the stomach. So they regurgitate it and then swallow again, and it goes into a different section of the four-chambered stomach, and that really helps. The reason the strategy is so great is that it helps to extract as much. Just watch his throat now. And you see the bolus coming up. It helps them to extract as much protein from the food as possible, because protein is in short supply if you're a herbivore. Plenty of carbohydrates, but they really struggle to get protein. And by re-chewing the food, it breaks it up that more and allows the bacteria in the stomach to work that much harder and more effectively to extract the protein they need. This waterhole is called Biffel's Hook Dam, which means Buffalo's Corner Dam, so that's quite appropriate. You can see that old boy's had his ears chewed off, probably by thorns. It's possible there's been some form of attack on him, but I think he probably would have lost the whole ear then. You can see those oxpeckers sitting on them quite peacefully. It's a very little peaceful scene as the sun starts to set over the great African wonderland that is the Kruger Park. Up here in the tree above us, got a whole lot of sticks. I don't know if, there are two different kinds of nests there, and I'm not sure if anybody knows what they are. The big ones are called red-billed buffalo weaver's nests. It's not easy to say after a couple of scotches. Red-billed buffalo weaver's nests. And the buffalo weavers are a little bit like those community nest spiders. The females don't eat the males, but they all live in their own little apartment, and they kind of share a communal style of living, and they flock together and they feed together. And then the little nests above them are probably spotted-backed weavers' nests, and those are beautiful yellow birds in the summertime and totally drab brown in the winter, which is interesting. So they're only yellow when they're breeding. They like to nest just above water. The tree is called a torchwood tree, or Balanites mogami, and it's called a torchwood, interestingly, because the oil in the fruit is flammable, and apparently people used to soak, they'd take the oil out and soak it, wrap it around a stick, and then use that as a torch. It's also very toxic, and if you're running short on time and short on food, you can go to a water hole, and apparently it's quite effective as a fish poison. You can crush it up and drop it in the water, and the torchwood will poison the water and kill the fish. It's not very nice, obviously, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Again, I'm not sure how much you can hear from where you're sitting now, but the day you can just feel as the energy has changed away from the harshness of the midday and the midday sun. You've got a crested francolin calling, heralding the sunset. They're normally the herald of the sunrise as well. We've got oxpeckers coming in to roost from all over, having one final bite to eat on some of those buffalo. There's just a tremendous sense of peace around the place at the moment. The little heron feeding, the doves flitting down for their final drinks of the night. Beautiful shot of those oxpeckers. Well done, Brian. Good job. Good job. Those are called red-billed oxpeckers. We do get the yellow-billed variety in this area sometimes, but they're quite rare. Further north, they're much more common. And you can see, I don't know if you can see, but these buffalo tend to be covered in ticks and insects and ectoparasites, and those oxpeckers play a crucial role in the prevention of disease on things like these buffalo, and indeed all the herbivores. The one there you can see without the red bill is a juvenile. And he's actually begging. You can see he's begging with his mouth open there. That's quite interesting to see. See the begging with his mouth open because he's probably a little lazy to try and feed himself these days. Having just come out of... He's probably just fledged. Getting very upset. And off to my left there are some grey-headed sparrows, which I don't think you'll see in the camera. They're hidden in a knobthorn tree. They also like to call the end of the day and the very beginning of the day. And you might be able to see them there. There we go. Grey-headed sparrow. Enjoy trees like this because it means they can... It's difficult for the larger birds. Their major predators are probably small raptors. And small raptors will struggle to get into a thorny bush like that to haul them out. They will have to watch out though for things like boomslang, which is a tree snake. And a tree snake, despite its smooth scales, is able to climb somehow, and I don't know how, through those branches and up into trees like that. They're not as easily as in a smoother tree, but they're still able to do it somehow. It's also a giraffe's favorite food, that knobthorn tree, and if you were to try and pull some leaves off with your hands, you'd shred the skin of your hands. And the giraffe just wraps his wet tongue around it and sort of sucks the leaves off. It's a totally remarkable thing that they're able to do without hurting themselves. And there goes the sun finally. So I'm just going to let you sit and listen quietly for the next minute while the sun disappears, and try and just gauge for yourself a sense the tremendous peace that an African sunset can give you. Here the sparrows to the left, Cape turtle doves to the right. ratlings, the sticklers calling their last alarm call. Hear the buffalo scratching his head. I have a question from Mary Ann as we watch the embers of the sun disappear over the horizon there. Mary Ann wants to know, when will the weavers start again? I'm assuming, Mary Ann, that you mean when will they start to sort of rebuild their nests and breed again. That will only happen in the springtime. So around September, late August, September, they'll start to build, and they're squabbling and breeding, and I mean, it's wonderful to watch. Will go on probably until December time, and then they'll settle in to raise the clutch of eggs and chicks. It will happen, and after that, the males slowly, when they molt their yellow feathers, they look exactly like females. So for the next few months until September, all the weavers look exactly the same, or very similar to each other. And then come September, they'll go yellow again and start to breed and build their nests. Judy, welcome to the Sunset Drive. You'd like to know how cold it gets here in winter. The answer is, I'm not sure where you're communicating from, but I can bet it's not as cold as where you're from. It might drop down to 2 or 3 degrees Celsius once or twice a year. That'll be the coldest it'll get. But even on those days, the maximum temperature during the day will go into the mid-20s. So it's very pleasant here in winter. I seldom have to put on long pants, and that's not because I've got very hairy legs. It's because it just simply doesn't get cold enough, which is great. Up on the Highveld in Johannesburg, it gets much colder, or Bloemfontein, where the altitude is much higher. It's over a mile in Johannesburg. But down here, the altitude's about 450 meters, and so it remains pretty cool. At least remains pretty warm. Buffalo wandering across the water. Just going to reverse a bit. You can see they're coming up to drink, or coming up to start eating now, some of them. And there are a few behind us that I'm just going to try and see if we can't see better. See them going off to start grazing for the night. And that wizened old bull, you can see on his horns there how much of the top layer has come off, the sort of keratin on top of his horns, and that's from rubbing his horns against trees, itching himself and marking territory and showing dominance. You can see on the one behind him as well, very similar sort of configuration to the keratin on the top of the horns. These old bulls spend so much time around the water because in order to, and especially as winter comes along, in order to digest the very dry food that they eat, they need a lot of water to keep the stomach going. So they can eat. These buffalo have such incredibly effective digestion that they can eat just about anything as long as they have enough water to drink. And so as the winter comes, they'll spend more and more time around the water. hear one of them making a big noise in the background. Just going to get a little bit closer down to the water there. Oh, sorry about that. Two of them having a little bit of argy-bargy. Oh, big fella. Look behind the buffalo. I'm not sure if you can see there. Just swimming in his wake. Swimming in his wake there. There we go. Well done, Brian. You can see a terrapin, which is a freshwater turtle. And he'll pick the ticks and things and the parasites. He's like a sort of waterborne oxpecker, if you like. And he'll pull the ticks off the buffalo's legs and any other bits that are dangling in the water. It's called a marsh terrapin. You can see those. You can hear the clunk of the horns of those two as they try and sort out who's the real boss. Looks far more playful than it does serious, especially as there are no women around for them to fight over, which is the main reason they would fight. Birchall starlings walking around behind them, just picking up the scraps. You know, as they turn the soil over, there'll be little snails and invertebrates and other morsels that the starlings can eat. The other quite interesting thing, if you look at those buffalo, you'll see one of them has a scrotum that seems to be much smaller than the others. And that often happens with bulls who've left the herd and they no longer have the need to mate. It's a waste of energy to maintain that part of the body for them. James in Colorado, welcome to the sunset, glorious African sunset, and this exceptional buffalo experience we're having. James would like to know if I have ever had a near encounter with a buffalo. Now, by close encounter, I'm assuming you mean in some sort of danger, and the answer is no. There's quite a story behind that. Buffalo have developed a reputation for being possibly some of the most dangerous animals in Africa. Now, I maintain that there is no such animal as a dangerous animal. An animal only becomes dangerous when it feels threatened. Now, the fearsome reputation that these buffalo have, it comes from the hunters who obviously try and shoot them. Now, if you harass a buffalo sufficiently and corner it, and especially wound it, it will become tremendously dangerous. But otherwise, no, they are not dangerous. If you give them a fright at night in a camp or something, and they feel cornered, yes, then they can feel threatened, and so they become dangerous. But I have walked within 5 meters of a buffalo bull by mistake before, not seen him until it was well too late, and they don't react. If they don't feel cornered, if they don't feel threatened, they're entirely docile. So James, I've had many close encounters with buffalo. I've never had a threatening encounter with a buffalo. And the same goes for many of the animals that have a reputation. That buff. Hi Eugene in Randburg, thank you very much for your question about guinea fowl. Guinea fowl are actually fairly abundant here. We hear them quite a lot, we do see them. They don't tend to congregate too much at the water. I suspect they probably drink mainly during the midday. I'm not entirely sure, but they are around. I don't think there's anything amiss with the ecology of the area that would suggest that there's a problem with them. I don't think they're a particular keystone species as far as that goes. So they're not like a frog or an indicator species. They're not like a frog where if the frog diversity dives, you know that there's something wrong or something out of kilter. So we do see quite a few guinea fowl around here. I wouldn't worry about that. Not sure if any of you have eaten guinea fowl before. There's an old recipe that's quite interesting. You take the guinea fowl and you put it in a pot with boiling water and whatever herbs and spices you want, and then you put a brick in next to the guinea fowl, and after you boil it for about 3 days, and after 3 days you take the guinea fowl out, throw it away, and eat the brick. And that's the best way to eat a guinea fowl. Right, we're going to head on out of here and see if we can't pick up some of the nocturnal animals. We've come to that time of the day that I call the changing of the guard. Everything is dead quiet. The francolins have stopped calling. The little grey-headed sparrows have gone into their nests, into the tree holes. And some of the nocturnal animals will start to wake up and stretch, and with any luck that'll include maybe a leopard or some lions, and the civets, the genets, the white-tailed mongoose, the owls, and the bush babies. And we might see some of those things. So I'm just going to reverse up out of here, and then we'll see what we can find. That hippo that we saw will come out to graze fairly soon as well. Nocturnal animals are hippos. There you go, the buffalo will graze. You can just feel it's amazing how two things happen at these latitudes. And one of those is that as soon as the sun goes down, the temperature drops quite fast, and then the the light goes almost immediately. At the higher latitudes, obviously, you have a bit of a twilight, and we don't have much of a twilight. I'm going to cross over to Brent now and see what he's doing. I've got no idea where he is in the world, so please give him my regards.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had fun with James. We're busy checking that area where there were some female leopard tracks around during the day. Last tracks we had were in the drainage line here. I'm just checking this road carefully. Make sure they haven't crossed through here. And as you can see, it's a bit colder. I've popped a jacket on. Sydney, Diane, MJ, Bradley, and Dennis. Well done, guys. You were correct on the collective noun for a group of warthogs. I know there were quite a lot of others of you as well. Thanks very much for sending in the answers, but they were the quickest. And it is a sounder of warthog. You can see we're driving quite slowly now. This time of the day, tracks become a little bit harder to see, so I'm going to slow down, just check very carefully. James, you copy? Sharon from Memphis, Tennessee. Sharon would like to know, do warthogs develop any calluses on their forelegs from that very distinct sort of kneeling feeding posture? They do have a thick, the skin that they do crawl on is quite a lot thicker and a lot tougher than the other skin. So yes, Sharon, they do develop calluses. We're just going to sneak through here very quietly and slowly, and then just as we get to the edge of the open area, I'm going to switch off and we're going to listen for a little bit, see if we hear anything. Hopefully something out there spotted the leopard, wants to let us know where it is. Nice open area of short grass now. Normally impala, quite often wildebeest here, but I'm not seeing anything at the moment. I'm just going to check the other side of the open area. look like much out here at the moment. No trucks yet. So we're just gonna switch off for a minute, just listen quietly, see if we hear any alarm calls. It is the right time of the day for the predator to start moving. Well, nothing there. Actually, this would be something you would do quite often if you're on the safari. If you came in person, it's a very, very important tool when it comes to finding animals. So we do utilize it a lot. Just sitting still, keeping quiet, and listening, and letting the bush let you know what's going on. Quite a nice, funny little story for you guys. So, one of the big things on a safari is to stop for your sundowner drinks. G&Ts, a nice cold glass of Sauvignon Blanc, or whatever your poison might be. And the interesting reason is why this was originally started. And it was actually started, as far as I'm aware, in the Sabi Sands. So, in the early days of the safari industry in this area, the lions and leopards were not like they are today. They would run from cars. They were used to being shot at and hunted. So when they did start developing this sort of safari model, the best time to find out where a lion or a leopard was at the sort of late afternoon as the evening's about to start. So the guide would stop and set up a tray of drinks and start serving everyone drinks, and his tracker would then wander off maybe 100 meters away from where it was a bit quieter, and just sit and listen. And listening for alarm calls. So it doesn't look like anyone's managed to find Mvula this evening on the Sunset Safari. So we're gonna just meander around the edges of the areas where he might be, and hopefully he moves out of those thickets that he's been lying in during the day, maybe to go have a drink. So we're going to check the water holes around there. From Kansas City. Welcome on the Sunset Safari, James. James wants to know, what are the odds of us being able to find a honey badger in the night portion of the safari? James, slightly better than the day portion, definitely, but still not very high. As it gets drier and the grass becomes shorter, our odds will increase, and hopefully we are lucky enough to see a honey badger at some point on one of the live drives. We were lucky enough to see a serval recently, so honey badger's not too far of a push. But and James would like to know, do honey badgers dig their own burrows, or do they utilize aardvark burrows or other already existing? Sorry, I thought I saw something. One of those very common leopard-like bushes. We see them quite frequently here. Sorry, James, back to your question. James, they will utilize already natural structures, whether it be like an aardvark burrow, but they quite often like to use rocky outcrops as dens. It just depends on the area. Saying that their domestic pigs often wallow in the mud because they cannot sweat, so they use it to cool themselves. And do warthogs do that for the same reason? Miriam, they do, but they do it for a similar reason, to cool off. It's comforting. They also use it as a means to control parasites like ticks. So what will happen is if they cover themselves in mud, those ticks become encased in the mud as it dries, and when they rub up against a nice stump or rock, the ticks will come off their bodies encased in that mud. And I'm quite sure domestic pigs, if they had tick and other parasite issues, would also use the wallowing to remove parasites. Well, we're getting close to that time of night, but it's nearly time for a bit of a spotlight. Not quite yet. It's this funny, that the twilight, where you think a spotlight might help, but your eyes are actually, if your eyes are sort of zoned in, actually work better than a spotlight at this specific time. The reason I've turned my front lights on is actually more for tracks. So with these lights on, they will throw a shadow on a track, so I might be able to see a track, because it is, other than that, without the lights, it would be near impossible for me to spot a track. Coming up on a little pan, that's where he was found this morning, was at this pan. So hopefully, if he hasn't moved too far away where he's been lying up during the day, he might definitely at this time of the evening come through to drink. When we get to the pan, we're going to switch off again, listen for a little bit before continuing on. I'm just going to listen for a few seconds, and while we're listening, I'm just going to get my spotlight ready. listening for now is any possible alarm calls. It is quite a strong possibility that he might start moving at this time of the day. And you can see like where Andrew's moving the camera, it's always checking those little gaps just in case we see a little dart of movement through there. So we're right outside Gallagher camp at Djuma. This little water hole is in front of the camp. And quite often guests are treated to some really special sightings while they're sitting on the deck. But unfortunately, I haven't heard anything, so I think we're going to continue on to the area where he was left lying up. I'm trying to decide where to check next, whether to check down towards the WildEarth Dam or to check further north towards the boundary. Decisions. How about it? Should I take unless we hear an alarm call or something that definitely gives us a pinpoint on it, where he possibly is, I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Where do you guys think Mvula's gone? You can choose right or left. Right goes back down towards the Djuma Dam and the Djuma Cam, and left goes towards our northern boundary. So I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Which way do you think Mvula went? You can send your answers to questions at wildearth.tv or just use the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. It looks like someone else has got the same plan as me and is slowly checking through this area. I'm going to stop and switch off again before we get through. Give you a chance to get your answers in. Also give me another chance to listen for alarm calls. Oh, there's a scrub here in the road. We're not going to keep the lights on them for too long. They don't really like it too much, just so you can see it. There he is, little scrub hair. Sorry, guy. Turn my lights off. Just going to stop up next to Mr. Scrub Hair and listen again for a second. So we're definitely not the only ones with the plan. You can hear another vehicle coming through, also doing the same thing, waiting till it got cooler and darker, and just checking to see if Mvula has come out of these thickets that he's been lying up in during the day. Oh, our friend the scrub here has run up right next to us. We try to bounce some light off the ground onto him, so it's not shining directly on him, I'm shining it off the ground. Oh, off he goes. Evening, guys. How you guys doing? Looking for Mvula? Us too. So I've been sitting around trying to listen to see if there's any alarm calls, but nothing yet. Hopefully he pops up somewhere.
No one saw any trucks apparently coming out of.
There was also a lot of vehicle movement in and around during the day, so. But I'm pretty sure he's quite close by. No, it's just he needs to walk into a nyala or something so we can know exactly where.
No, it just ran on those roads, like
There's a scrub here around earlier.
like going mad.
Yes, he's been running around the vehicle. He came back up the hill.
Yeah, we've got to go a shortcut to see if he comes out there. Quarantine, I might be back at the dam again.
All right, good luck. Bye. Hey guys, so we're going to continue on. You got another couple of minutes because I'm going to go really slowly to get your answers into where you think Mvula might have gone. Left towards our northern boundary or right towards the Djuma Dam. Excuse me. Guys, I'm nearly there, waiting for which way we should go. The junction now, so it's right towards the dam or left towards the boundary. I'm going to stop here for a little bit and listen again. Okay, so general consensus is right towards the dam. So if we don't find him, it's on you guys, not on me. But I think that's a good choice. I probably would have made the same choice myself. Check termite mounds. I've followed Mvula many times and he likes his termite mound to get a good view of the area around him. down so we can have a look at the drainage line that flows into the top of the dam. Oh, sorry, scrub here. Have one. Gets the edge here, so I can see right up the drainage line. Stop again. Oh, there's a really nice shot there for Andrew to have a look at. There's a, what tree is that? It is always a leadwood with a bit of beautiful sky behind it. A very high-pitched call you can hear behind us is a water thickener. We saw one of those at the Arethusa Dam earlier. So if anyone's tuned in a little bit late, to give you a quick update what we've been up to this afternoon on this sunset safari. We're on a report of wild dogs. So we went and checked Arethusa very, very thoroughly. Unfortunately, we weren't able to find them. But James had Imvula, nice big dominant male leopard this morning, and he was left lying up around here. And no one's been able to find him this afternoon, but there's been no tracks of him.
Everyone to Wendy. We've had a fairly quiet night drive so far, but it's a beautifully sort of balmy winter's evening, especially up here on the crests, and we're just making our way slowly to one of the clearings where we're hoping to pick up one or two nocturnal creatures. I always love this time of the day. I love most of the time of the day, but this one especially, when the night animals start to come out, and there's a feeling of solace, if you like, because you can see so much less. And some of the best times I've spent in the bush have been while I've been alone, either walking or sleeping the night in a tree house, and the night time gives that same sort of feeling. If you want a genuine connection with the wilderness, there's no better way to do it than with a night out on your own in an area that you're not necessarily that comfortable with. It's not to say you should come out here and lie under a bush for the night. That would just be silly. Some eyes up ahead there. Might be a bush baby or a galago. I'm not sure if you can see them or not. Probably not. You have to be almost in line with the spotlight. I'm going to move a little quicker to see. Definitely is moving like a bush baby. That'll be nice to see. Sight of it now. It was in that tall tree, one of these trees here. There we go. There he is. There we go. See him jump? You see him there, Via? No, you can't. Pull off here. Might get a view. It's a bit difficult with the light in the camera. There he is. A little lesser bush baby. Tiny little primate. That's glorious. Look at that. You see him jump? Did you get him?
No.
Fine. Have you got him now?
Yeah, I know.
I can't even see him anymore. Is he there?
Yeah.
Okay, there you can see he's got huge big ears. I'm just going to try and wash him with the light rather than shine directly on him and see if he doesn't jump again. You pull wide a bit. There we go. Do you see him go? Look at that. Beautiful sighting. That's called a lesser bush baby. Look at his eyes. He's eating tree gum. That's their favorite food in the winter, is the gum that comes out of acacia trees. And he's sitting on an acacia exuvialis tree, eating the gum, because the insects which are his staple food in summer are obviously not around as much now. That's a gorgeous sighting. Oh, there he goes. Sort of see him in there. Not sure we'll see him again. There he is. There we go. Just going to go a little bit forward. There he is. Got him. He's in that combretum tree there. There we go. A little bit forward again. There's another one. I think that's another. It might be the same one. These are fascinating little creatures. They're very small, and when you're little like that, you have to have very rich food to keep your body temperature up, because they lose heat very fast, like the rodents do. And so the bush babies, to save energy at night time, at least in the daytime, will curl up and go into what we call torpor, which is a sort of lower, it's like a mini hibernation almost. And what it does is it just means that the physiological strain on the body are that much less, so they use that much less energy to maintain body temperature. So if you find them sleeping in the middle of the day, they're a bit like a child when it wakes up. They're almost sort of delirious. You can pick them up, because it takes a while for their physiologies to kick back in. And we're going to leave that one and carry on. That was a really nice sighting. There's an impala there in the clearings. Impala will come out into the clearings at night because they don't want to. It's the best place, most easy place for them to see the predators, if there are predators after them. And the impala's night vision will be much better than ours, although not great. So we're going to wrap it up for you now. I've had a great time this afternoon. We haven't seen a huge amount of big game or big and hairies, but we've seen some great little stuff. It's been a stunningly beautiful afternoon out here, and I really appreciate all the interaction that we've had, and thanks very much for being with us, and we'll see you again tomorrow morning. Thanks again to Brian behind. That's his somewhat strangely decorated thumb. And so from Brian and I, it's a good night to you, and we're going to pop over to Brent just for the last few minutes of the drive. We'll see you in the morning. Good night and have a great evening. Thanks a lot.
Hi guys, welcome back. I'm not sure what happened there. So we apologize for that break in signal, but we are back with you. So what we decided to do, we did check down towards the dam. So now we've come up opposite way towards the dam, near the northern boundary, and we're just going to sit here for the last few minutes, and maybe we will hear something. We're going to listen for a little bit. Remember, everyone, put your ears on, your hands on your ears, so you can hear more, like a kudu. There's a nice African sunset with a star. Hi Gerda, thanks for another question today on the Sunset Safari. Gerda would like to know, is that star we're seeing Venus? Gerda, it is. It is Venus, and as you can see, it is a planet, not a star, and if it was a star, it would be twinkling. Maybe it might be dark enough to show a star, and when we zoom in on the star, there's one to the right there. Zoom in on the star there. You'll see it flickers, the star flickers, whereas the planet stays stationary. And even when you look at them with your naked eye, it's amazing how silent it is now. Well guys, it's been a bit of a quiet afternoon with the all sunset safari with the bigger things, but it still has been a thoroughly enjoyable, and the light was fantastic. We had some great views of kudu and those hippo, and some really nice birds at Arathusa Dam, and it's just so wonderful to be out here, and couldn't ask for a better job, and I'm very, very glad I was able to share it with all of you. It is a real privilege to be able to share our passion with all of you all over the world. It is a very special thing to be able to do. So hopefully Mvula comes out of these drainages in the morning and we are able to find him a little bit easier. And that's the wonderful thing about going on safari. Tomorrow morning, everything's new tracks, so we start again afresh, and we can learn something new every day, and we see something different every day, and that's one of the most amazing things about living in the bush and being able to go on safaris every day. Sorry, I just thought I heard something there. Oh, I don't think you guys are going to be able to hear. It's a bit in the distance, but they're very quintessentially African sound in the distance there of a hippo. Quite far away, I'd guess probably around Sydney's dam. But again, I can't thank you guys enough for joining us on the Sunset Safari. It's been an absolute pleasure having you ride along with us, and we've had a fantastic time, and hopefully tomorrow we'll have some better luck with some of the predators. I'm definitely going to be finding out more with what's happening with those wild dogs, and we've got Mvula somewhere in this drainage system to the west of us. Then there's female leopard tracks all around the northwest, and hopefully one of those different avenues come to fruition tomorrow. And it's always exciting to go out and tracking, and I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do, and we'll definitely be on Fine Fettle, hopefully James and I in the morning. And also, just to let you know, Scott and Nikki are going to be back tomorrow, so really exciting to have them back. We've missed them out here, as I'm sure you've missed them, and we're going to be great to have Scott back on the team and out in the bush with us. So from all of us here at Wild Earth, thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you all bright and early for the Sunrise Safari. Have a wonderful evening or morning, or whatever time of the day it is, wherever you might be in the world.